Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome back to Houselights, the podcast that examines the work of directors by career, by decade, by whatever categorization that we want to do. And we are here in the next chapter of the Houselights saga, covering the House of Dante, where we are looking at the works of Joe Dante from the 1980s. And we are kicking it off with the all-time genre-bending, ratings-changing classic, Gremlins from 1984. I am John Mills, and I am thrilled, as always, to have my just perennial sense of holiday cheer reinforced by the two rapscallion animals that go around causing mischief with me. Tristan Riddell. Tristan, how are you? How are you feeling here in this small town that seems vaguely familiar, like it might be a set from Back to the Future as well? How are you doing?
That was actually my first thought. Actually, I'm glad that you asked how I'm feeling, because I'm in the process of getting my voice back. If every once in a while it sounds like I'm going through puberty again, that's the reason. But I'm glad that you brought up the backlot, because like right off the bat, like when I started watching, I was just like, wait, is this Back to the Future in winter? What's going on here?
Yes, indeed. Any way to cut costs, Amblin was going to find it. And right there along with them is our own inventor, traveling the world, trying to share his own version of the bathroom buddy and the smokeless ashtray, all cut on his laser printer. Dr. Sci-Fi himself, Darren Moser. How are you, Darren?
Now, Tristan, I have this thing called the voice buddy. It's you gargle, some would say an acidic acid. I'd say more like, makes like that episode of Donald Duck where it smooths out his voice.
Yeah, I've drank Pepsi before.
There you go.
But yes.
We are thrilled to have everybody here. We're thrilled to be here. We're thrilled to be covering a movie that is a landmark in its own right. I mean, we seem to keep hitting these films that are absolute cultural touchstones. And what else we love is when people go over and they give us a rating and review over in the Apple Podcast Store or iTunes or whatever they're calling it this week. Go on over there, give us a star rating and review. Go over to the nerdparty.com/contact, drop us a line. Maybe there's a director you want us to cover. Just somebody that you're dying for us to cover. Like, I don't know, P.T. Anderson or something like that. Who knows? Could be. But you can also find us out there on the wilds of the internet. The network is at Join Nerd Party on Twitter, and then it's the Nerd Party on Facebook and Instagram. And Tristan, where can people find you online?
You can find me at The Insane Robin on Twitter, as well as Letterboxd, and all over the place at thenerdparty.com.
Absolutely. And Dr. Sci-Fi, where can people find you?
They can go to drsci-fi.com, DRSCIFI.
And if you take leave of your senses, you can find me as Kessel Junkie out there on the wilds of the internet. But I have not yet presented a work that is going to change the landscape quite so much as Chris Columbus's spec script that got turned into Gremlins, that was inspired by falling asleep in his apartment, hearing the mice come out at night and being creeped out by the little pitter-patter of their adorable little feet. And so that script comes across the desk of one Mr. Steven Spielberg, Steve, as I like to call him. And, he was making a couple of movies back in the 80s, and he was a producer too, as it turns out. And he said, you know what? We're going to make this movie. Amblin Entertainment is going to make this movie. This is dark. This is funny. And I want my buddy Joe Dante, to come on over here and direct it. So I got to ask, Darren, traditional question we always ask. Your first encounter with Gremlins was?
At Blockbuster, as where many of my, I honestly feel I probably saw Gremlins 2 before this one. It probably just had the catchier cover, with the Gremlins sitting in the high office chair. But this was probably only like my third time watching Gremlins. I have not watched it as often. Unlike Die Hard, it is not quite the Christmas classic in my heart. Although it runs on the same rules as Die Hard, as being a Christmas movie. Set at Christmas, they talk about Christmas, Santa's there, all that. But this one, was definitely Blockbuster, or maybe even just at a friend's house, because I had vague memories of kind of like the beginning, but not the full beginning. So I didn't know where the gremlin came from, where the Mogwai came from. I'm like, he gets it somehow. And then later watching it again, it's like, oh, that's right. There's this whole scene in, Chinatown and all of that. And yeah, but this is going to be interesting talk, because I probably got like 3/4 through and just kind of took a break because I was really bored as the gremlins were tearing up the town. But we'll get into that.
Wow, death and destruction cannot hold the attention of one Dr. Sci-Fi. That's amazing. Tristan, when was the first time you came across this, and how many minutes of it did your dad cut out while you were watching it?
Well, he didn't cut out any.
Wow.
Because I watched it a couple nights ago for the first time.
You're kidding. Your first go round on Gremlins was for the Houselights podcast.
It was,
really?
yeah. I saw.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm very interested.
I saw
now.
bits and pieces throughout the years because I'm an American. But it's like I didn't see the full thing. Like I
did you
just
know
never had
like
access to
the
it.
rules? Like I feel like most people know like the don't feed him after midnight. Like what?
Yes.
What culturally did you know going into this?
Like going into it, I knew who Gizmo was, and I knew his name was Gizmo because I'm pretty sure I had like a little figurine of Gizmo, just inherited it from a cousin or something. And I knew the rules, like don't feed him after midnight, don't get him wet. I forgot about the sunlight one, but I remember the wet one in the feeding thing. Which even as a child, like when I heard that rule, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because like what if it's daylight savings time, or
the Mowgli knows. What if you travel across an international state line?
Yeah, state lines. What if you're on a plane, or like what if he has a little bit in his teeth, and then no, but like that's what I knew. I knew that like Phoebe Cates was in it, and that he came from Chinatown, and that once they got wet. No. Like once they ate after midnight, that's when they turned evil and like destroyed the town. That's really all that I knew. Like I just remember seeing bits and pieces throughout the years, but this was the first time I saw it from beginning to end in any kind of sizable chunk. And I think like Darren, I saw more of the second one before I saw the first one.
That kind of blows my mind. I grew Gremlins was just a part of the tapestry of the background of my life in the 1980s. Because of course, I'm a little bit older than you guys. You could not escape Gremlins. The same summer was Ghostbusters. And
16 Candles.
As the young kid I was at the time, less interest in 16 Candles, way more interest in Ghostbusters and Gremlins. But I grew up in a place where like this is one of those things where you really wind up sounding like an old man, but it is just a fact. Where I grew up, movies didn't necessarily become accessible to me until after their release date. So a lot of times I would either just miss the theatrical run entirely and catch it on video later, or unless my memory is failing, which is entirely possible, Gremlins had quite a number of ancillary materials that came out. So it was just sort of culturally present.
Feels like Gremlins would be the kind of movie that had a cereal, tie-in, or at least a Burger King toy, something like that.
I don't remember the cereal, but I do remember a storybook that had a lot of very high quality pictures. I remember becoming very interested in the movie because of the design of the creatures. I thought they were fascinating to look at. And when I did see it, like it was weird because what was in my head from the materials was different than what I saw on screen. It was an odd sort of thing. And I remember being so disgusted by some of the stuff that happened on screen, like absolutely disgusted by the way the mom fights the gremlins in the kitchen and certain things that happen there. Just
and the
really, yeah. The microwave and the mixing bowl were shockingly awful to me. So it's one of those things where this is entirely possible that I saw it in a theater well after it had opened, or on video well after it had opened. It it's like the memory is fuzzy to me because I know I saw Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I know I saw Iron Eagle. I know, but Gremlins, I want to say I've seen it in the theater, but I don't quite recollect. I remember more the books and the toys and the collectibles that went along with it.
Like, I was just looking up because I was curious, because I think there's probably a lot of people who might mistake this movie for like Critters, which is also a movie about, small teethy creatures that chew up a town, which was 1986. So that obviously was like, hey, that Gremlins movie did real good. Let's make something really similar.
Yes, Critters was definitely capitalizing on it for sure. But
oh man, this movie made a lot though. $11 million budget, $212 million
return. Yeah. I mean, it was huge, but it also, the thing is, everybody talks about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, but Gremlins, that was a movie that
just kept
people.
Going back.
No, but
sorry, I thought you meant watching. You mean like the PG rating?
PG-13.
This was the one that finally pushed it over the cliff, and it was like 2 months after this came out that Spielberg successfully lobbied for PG-13 because people were angry about certain things in this and their kids seeing it. And Tristan, I want to kick this to you since this is your first time watching it. Try to put yourself in the stylish days of 1984. And here's a PG movie produced by Steven Spielberg, the guy that brought you E.T.
Yeah.
And you have a cute little fuzzy hand coming out of a gift box, and it's Gremlins
this summer.
Oh, right. Hey, this looks cute and fun.
Yeah.
How angry would you be if you took your kids to this movie?
I would be if I took my kids thinking, I need to watch the trailer to see how they marketed it, because especially that ending shot, or like that ending death from Spike. I think that's his name, Spike, or
Stripe.
Stripe. That was gruesome.
Yes,
like it's the type of gore that you can't get with CGI. Like the type of gore that only the 80s
all practical. It's real.
Yeah, only 80s practical could do. Absolutely. I like watching this. I was like, this absolutely would have been one of the movies that would have been PG-13. It's not R. It's not R. But PG-13 definitely, from some of the violence. Like an old woman dies. Good Lord.
Mm-hmm. She was a mean old woman, though.
So here's the thing.
Talk about the stair escalator gets thrown out.
Here's the thing is that like she looks so different from the beginning of the film. I didn't know that was her at first. I thought it was a different woman. I thought it was a random woman. And then they killed her. And I was just like, what the heck? Like, why? I was just like, they just killed an old, and I was talking about the movie, not the Gremlins. I was just talking about like the producers and writer and director. I was just like, you just killed a defenseless old woman, who can't even walk up the stairs. And am I supposed to be laughing? Am I supposed to be sad? Am I supposed to be cheering? Like, what's the deal? And then it wasn't until I realized I was like, oh wait, it's the mean woman,
Mrs. Deagle.
Like Mrs. Deagle, like the woman that they cartoonishly tried to make evil at the beginning, talking about how she was going to torture a dog because they knew they wanted to kill her later on. And but I didn't realize that was her right away. And so I was really put off by that scene. So yes, absolutely, PG-13 should have been.
Yeah,
if it had the option.
I would actually, I mean, Darren, I would actually argue that it's only because Spielberg's name is attached to this that it does not get the R. Do you think that in a different, take yourself back to a different time, you're on the board, are you casting a vote for PG or R?
Because we all talk about 80s R, like 80s, and actually that kind of gives me my answer. Now I see why they gave it PG, because 80s R is like, it's way more closer to like NC-17 than it is to PG. It's way farther in the red. So yeah, so by comparison, if we look at the ratings as a spectrum, between right when something goes from PG to PG-13, or right when something goes from G to PG, yeah, Gremlins is right on the edge of PG. Like the only reason it wasn't PG-13 is because it didn't exist.
Right.
And so, yeah, no, I would say it I'm not surprised that they gave it a PG rating. And to your direct question, yeah, probably, the same thing, like your pitch, like from the company that brought you E.T., Gizmo is a cute little gremlin. It's like, that's all we're going to say. Now go watch this movie about Christmas and the joy of family. And it's like, nope, that's not what you're going to get at all.
Yeah, it's I think it's interesting because the specific story I have for this and why I would have pushed it over the edge to try to ensure that kids didn't see it is Phoebe Cates' story about her dad. And just in case there are any kids listening in earshot, in case there's any chance of that, I'm not going to mention this. I'm not going to repeat the story, but I will mention this story from my real life where I was babysitting a younger cousin of mine. Now, on my mom's side, very large family, right? She had 6 brothers and sisters. They all had multiple children. And so I'm middle of the pack, and I'm babysitting one of the kids who is a little bit younger than me. And we're sitting there, and Gremlins is on TV. And I'm like, oh, okay, hey, we'll watch this, right? Because I'm not thinking. And I'm like, I have it on and everything. And it's going along. And then Phoebe Cates goes into this. She starts going into it. She's like, it was Christmas Eve. And I go, oh my God. And I changed the station really quickly. Well, the little kid I'm babysitting says, why'd you change it? I said, it was a commercial. I literally couldn't think. And I'm just a kid at the time. I'm like, it's a commercial. No, it wasn't. You changed the channel. Well, I was about to go to commercial. That's why I changed the channel. Let's look at this while we're going to. I want to go back to the movie. Yeah, we'll go back to the movie in a couple of minutes because this kid would have been very adversely affected by that story. And I would have personally been in favor of slapping something on it to say, I want to make sure there's no chance of a kid who's like 7 or 8 years old.
You would think they would have edited that out of the TV version.
You would think. But I can also tell you that scene in particular, the executives wanted taken out, and even Spielberg wanted it taken out. So Tristan, let me ask you this. Does the movie gain anything from that story? Does it actually serve any real purpose for the character development?
Absolutely not. Like they tried to tease, like even the line that she had earlier where she said like, while some people are opening presents, other people are opening their veins. I'm like, good Lord.
Right.
Like what? This is Dak. Like why on earth would you make that character so morose about Christmas? I mean,
there's like, not even a reason for her to be upset. Like, I mean, they give her a reason, but like, it doesn't impact the story at all that she doesn't like Christmas.
Yeah, it's not like because of her cynicism, she saves the day, or because she doesn't like Christmas, she knows that, it doesn't give her any kind of insight.
I don't think she even learns to love Christmas by the end. I don't think there's even a change. It's just
like, why would she after all these people died?
It's literally all there to tell the story, to tell the Santa story.
It's so utterly strange. It's so utterly strange. So yeah.
Yeah. So that is an odd thing that Dante winds up winning out because Spielberg backs him and says, you know what, it's your movie. Fine, we'll keep it in. Especially considering the fact that Judge Reinhold and I always forget the character actor's name who played the head of the bank. They actually had more in the movie and they got cut down substantially in editing. And it's like, it's just strange that you left that one thing in, but the other things were taken out. But I do want to ask Darren, because you craft stuff, you use your laser printer, all of that sort of thing. I want to ask you specifically about the design and execution of the Gremlins as puppets.
Oh, the animatronics are amazing. I mean, they are top class. I kept forgetting that they're puppets. Like they are puppeted so well. They do all the tricks of, hiding in shadow, or you only see them, or even the time when you see them fully, like they're sitting around playing cards, and it's obvious that they're puppets, but they do it in such a way that by then you're just fully in and you're just enjoying these creatures and what's going on and all that's happening. And the Gizmo puppet, because it's like night and day as far as the feelings you're supposed to feel for this. You're supposed to feel that's cute and it's adorable, and it doesn't talk really, well, a little bit, but they're, distant cousins from the Gremlins, and yeah, man, they just pull out all the stops. I think all of the animatronic work in this is really, really good. Yeah, and you have to think about, pretty much every shot of a gremlin, it's just like waist up and there's someone's hand sticking up through it. But I never felt that. I never thought that watching it. It was just, I was so into it by the time that they were showing it in full light and all around. And then it just starts to become a shotgun effect of like, there's just going to be so many gremlins on screen. I mean, there's the scene when they're all in the movie theater and it's like, oh my gosh, like how did they fit so many puppeteers in there? Or were they, 3 of them were on rods that were moving back and forth, some guy off. Like that must have been a crazy day shooting the big scene of all the puppets. But no, I loved the puppetry. I think they did a great job with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I already said that, I was fascinated by the designs even before I went in to see the movie. But, speaking of the puppets and the designs and everything like that, Tristan, do you think that Gizmo is too cute? Do you think that if Gizmo is a little less cute, the Gremlins are a little less shocking? Because Gizmo is so adorable. Kids wanted Gizmo toys. Gizmo was like the post Return of the Jedi Ewok toy. Every kid wanted one. Even if kids hadn't seen the movie, they wanted a Gizmo because it was so cute. It was the Baby Yoda of 1984.
Yeah.
So do you think Gizmo being that cute is why the Gremlins are so shocking? Do you think his design should have been a little closer to a gremlin to prepare the audience for what was happening? Or do you think that that's why the Gremlins are successful?
I think that's why the Gremlins are successful. I think Dante wanted it to be shocking. Now, granted, I think Gizmo's design was heavily influenced by Spielberg. Apparently, like he kept going back to the puppeteers and the designers and everything like that, saying like, no, make him like this, make him like this, make him like this. And so I think we can thank Spielberg for making him as cute as he is. Dante wanted it to be shocking because you talked about this being genre bending at the beginning. I sometimes see it as genre confusing, but that's definitely one where it's genre bending, where it's like cute and cuddly Christmas, and then boom, no, it's a nightmare.
There's and I'm borrowing this from, of course, the Book of Knowledge, Wikipedia, where there was some guy who was there saying that it's part of the legacy of the 1980s saw humor and horror getting blended using Ghostbusters and Gremlins and The Far Side as an example, that the 80s were when these genres were blending. But this is one of those things where I don't know if it's just that this has always struck me as less a comedy and more a horror film. And yeah, because the thing is,
it's so confusing to me because I don't know. There's certain, from scene to scene, even moment to moment, I'm not sure what they're going for. Like there's so many times I ask myself, am I supposed to be laughing right now? Am I supposed to be scared? Like what do you want from me? Like when that guy who lost his job gets run over by his own tractor. What am I supposed to be feeling in that moment? Like this is someone that we got to know and sympathize with, and then you kill him in front of our eyes, but you did it in a weird way where where it was almost played off for laughs. So what am I supposed to be feeling? I think that is a microcosm of what I found wrong with the film. Is that there are horror movies that are very funny, and there are comedies that are very scary. This one I don't think it had a deft hand to figure out what tonality they were going for. Maybe if there was a better editor, maybe if there was a different director, I'm not quite sure. Maybe Spielberg could have done it differently. I don't know. I don't know much about Dante yet to really throw down any judgment on his directing. I do not think this is a good example of genre bending. I think this is a schizophrenic movie.
So, Darren, given that, without asking whether you agree with Tristan, feel free to share if you do, but like, given that there is that sort of mismatch of things and, maybe some tonal issues, why do you think this finds such purchase with the audience as to make so much money, basically make Joe Dante
merchandising. Sorry.
You think that's it?
Well, I mean, they could have had merchandising. That doesn't even mean they're going to go back into the theater because we're looking at box office numbers. But yeah, I think, I mean, there also could be just, it could have been a word of mouth thing. It's obviously a movie that I think people would talk about, especially if they're going in thinking they're going to get Gizmo and they get Gremlin. So that is going to, and think again, it's probably marketed at teenage boys. And of course they're going to want to see it. Like, oh yeah, my friend, my parents took my friend to see Gremlins and he said, oh, they stormed out and they were so upset about it. Like, oh, I want to go see it now too. Like it could have just hit at that right moment of, word of mouth, nothing else to do, nothing competing directly for that bracket. I don't have, the bracket in front of me of what was out that specific month, but I feel like it's kind of that as at least getting it rolling. And then it just became the summer darling of what everyone just, or it could be the secondary movie as well. It's like, oh yeah, well, we're going to go see, Ghostbusters. But, oh, I've seen Ghostbusters again. Like, what else is there? Oh, there's Gremlins. That's right. So you also get that people who didn't like Ghostbusters went and saw Gremlins. They both begin with G, maybe. I don't know. But that's my guess. Just some sort of macrocosm of fate. Plays. Not saying it's not a good movie enough to warrant people seeing it again. But it feels like it's probably a multifaceted answer on why it made so much money.
I would fall into the camp. I can say that I was old enough that my own interest / obsession with horror film was just beginning. I was just entering that phase of my life. And Gremlins, I think, does in fact successfully, although somewhat schizophrenically, straddle this line of confusion that you feel growing up, where you still feel some of that pull to the cutesy stuff you grew up with, but you're also becoming much more aware.
But you get blood and guts, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're becoming much more aware of mortality, and it's kind of a grim, terrifying time in your life because you suddenly are aware that the world isn't cute and cuddly anymore, and so I think that winds up helping it find purchase. I know that the sense of humor in the film hit with my dad. He thought the Gremlins were funny. And I think it's one of those things where there's a lot of gallows humor in it. And
true.
While it may be a string of gags, it's a string of gags that is, squarely rooted in the idea of, we're all going to die. We might as well laugh about how it might happen. And I think
it does kind of have a purgatory kind of feel. Like the poor people of this town are stuck in hell. And, but yeah, like Tristan said, though, there is a lot of you kind of have to just roll with it, because otherwise, if you're thinking of like, what am I supposed to be feeling in this moment, or how am I supposed to be connecting with this character? It's like, you're kind of not. They're just kind of throwing things at the screen. Like you said, it's a gag type story where the Gremlins individually aren't necessarily interesting or funny, but collectively and the mayhem they cause is the driving force of the plot.
Well, I think there's also a sense of, there are just some legitimately funny jokes worked into it, but I think that it's possible that we're looking at something where It is even for 1984 standards, especially with what they pulled off with the puppets. $11 million isn't a lot of money to spend on the film. And so I think that its success just became outsized for whatever reason. And it's got to be something that psychologically sparks with people that gets them to go into the theater. And it could be something as simple as it's just different. It's just completely different from
something we haven't seen
else
before.
That's out.
I think that's a good point. Well, and on Gremlins 2, I mean, Gremlins 2 had a budget of like 30 to 40 million, and it only made, or like 30 to 50 million, it only made like 41 million. So but
that much.
But that was 1990. So it's another time. It's, that's 6 years later, and things travel fast.
I saw Gremlins 2 in the movie theater. It's a darn shame we can't talk about it here.
I watched it just in case. I watched it today just in case.
I kind of want to watch it again just to refresh my memory.
Well, the thing is, I read these retrospective things about it.
We're allowed to talk about it.
That's true.
It's our show. We could do what we want.
Let's make up the rule. We'll do it live. But with Gremlins 2, I was one of those people that was like, oh yeah, Gremlins. Yeah, that Gremlins was funny to me. Okay, sure. Let's go see Gremlins 2. And I saw it with my one of my other cousins, and we're in the movie theater. I just remember being so bewildered. Like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, and I want to revisit it because there are so many things now where people are doing these retrospective think pieces on it, where it's like, it's a very sly commentary on sequel culture. And it's like, is it though? Or is it that people went nuts because they had too much money? I don't know. It could be.
What, a sequel that didn't live up to its original? That never happens in Hollywood.
And
Dante
rare.
himself has said that he prefers Gremlins 2 over Gremlins 1.
Yeah, he considers it like his opus, kind of, in that regard.
Wow.
And yet we're still doing House of Dante, which, by the way, sounds friggin' awesome. House of Dante. I just got to say that out loud. So, okay, I want to talk. I want to hijack hosting duties real quick. I want to talk about the lead.
Okay.
Zach
Galligan.
I always want to say Gilligan. I don't know if they could have found a more charmless, devoid of charisma actor.
Wow.
Than him to play this role. I did not care about him whatsoever. He was a walking void. I mean, they might as well just had a silhouette going through the movie. I've never. It's not like I was angry. I wasn't like, oh my God, he's so terrible, or like he can't say his lines, or he keeps looking at the camera, or his shoes are untied. It wasn't anything like that. I was just like, he is beige. He's construction paper. It was crazy how he was so milk toast. It was insane. Where and also why'd they try to give him honestly, why'd they even give him backstory? Why'd they even give him a difficult time at the bank? And I know that they wanted to, they cut out a story of him wanting to be an artist. There was more to that story that wound up on the cutting room floor. But why even keep any of it? Why even begin that in the first place? So much of that didn't make sense to me. Making Phoebe Cates sardonic and morose, Galligan existing, and also the intro. We didn't need the intro at all. The Chinatown thing where they actually picking up Mogwai. It's so weird. It's aesthetically pleasing, but as far as story beats go, it's completely repetitive later on, because the first time we see Gizmo could have been the first time Galligan sees Gizmo. They try to frame the movie through the dad's perspective at the beginning and at the end by having him be this narrator.
But he's not even there for most of the inciting events.
No, he's not. And yet I'm just like, whose movie is it? Is it the dad's? Is it the Walking Voids? What is it? And so there was protagonist confusion. And also, side note, of course, the black dude died first. I was like, poor guy. And he doesn't even go to check on him. He doesn't even go to check on him.
He's just sleeping under that desk. I'm sure he's okay.
But yeah, it was so confusing to me because the movie could have started with Galligan, or it could have, or even better, like it could have started like because we didn't need the dog thing, we didn't need the Deagle thing to start the movie, we didn't need the bank thing. It's completely irrelevant to the story. All it does is establishes a relationship with Phoebe Cates, and I'm not done yet. And then just pick it up where his dad comes home. That's where you pick it up. And also the invention stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The invention stuff doesn't matter. Make the gremlins die in a normal home appliance. Like, why is he an inventor?
I will push back a little bit on this.
Okay, I want to hear your pushback.
If not a lot. This is going to be my pushback on it, is that obviously, they're going for the comedy bits and stuff like that, but the things that they're showing, that they're establishing as they go along, is that Billy is that absolutely non-remarkable everyman sort of character. He's just a guy, that there's nothing special about him. And so many times with movies like this, it's more about, hey, this is a special person who has special destiny. And instead, he really is. I mean, the whole town is supposed to be nondescript Nowheresville that has hell on earth visited upon it by these puppets that are going to, razzle dazzle you on screen, sort of thing, and look at this nightmarish Christmas Eve that happens. In terms of the dad being an inventor, I mean, the dad could have been an insurance salesman, sure. And it's just a gag to throw in there to demonstrate, so that they can have the gag with the juicer and they can have the gag with the bathroom buddy and stuff like that. But it just gives the dad a reason to travel. There's a reason the dad isn't at home. And I think that him being at the convention, I actually get a kick out of the fact that in one shot while he's on the phone, you see a guy sitting in a replica of the H.G. Wells time machine, and it cuts away to somebody else, and then it cuts back to him, and everybody's walking around, and there's a burn mark on the floor, and everybody's puzzled walking around, and he doesn't even notice what's going on.
Robbie the robot walks by.
Right. I think stuff like that is funny.
That felt very Police Story.
Sure. But that type of stuff is funny. And so, yeah, this is a comedy where it's a collection of bits. And that's what's
weird
though.
To me. But that's weird to me. I think coming at it from not being raised on it. I think that's what's odd to me, is that like all the inventor bits felt like wasting time. It felt like they were padding the runtime. The intro in Chinatown felt like they were padding the runtime. It just felt like, okay, crap. We only have a 90-minute. We have a 90-minute movie if we keep all this stuff. And I think a collection of bits that don't come from the story or come from character-driven stuff, where it's just, here's something funny that happens on screen, doesn't make me laugh. It's almost like physical comedy for physical comedy's sake, and that I don't find that funny.
Well, I mean, we can get into that same tired thing of like, well, comedy is subjective sort of thing, but it's like, a movie like this has always been that sort of thing, and it comes in and out of vogue, but it's, if you're in sort of the more Ace Ventura sort of mindset, or even that There's Something About Mary, where there's just a thin plot tying together all of these things that happen. And I would say in terms of that type of comedy, this actually has more of a cohesive thing because the Gremlins are such remarkable antagonists that it keeps your attention, or at least it keeps my attention. Because I know that I've had like a back and forth ebb and flow relationship in terms of my opinion with this movie, but it's definitely an ebb and flow. It's never been like a flat line sort of thing. But Darren, just to throw it back to you here. I mean, like, where do you fall? Obviously, Tristan and I don't necessarily agree on, how successfully cohesive the movie is, but we need a tiebreaker, and we need to know, where do you fall with that? Do you think that this movie is successfully cohesive? I think I know what your answer is, considering the fact you turned it off 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, it's interesting. It made me, as Tristan was talking about, the protagonist confusion and other things, it made me think of like other 80s movies that I kind of wish had made up this movie. Like, I wish we had Data from Goonies, and the kid is the inventor, and so his fun inventions, he finds fun ways to kill the gremlins, and we get, I know, shock concept. We get I want to get out of this town dreamer from The Last Starfighter, where he's stuck in this town, and this is the last Christmas before he goes away to college. So his family is wanting to make it special, but he's ready to just cut and get out and doesn't see the charm of the town. And maybe we get a little bit of like townspeople coming together to fight the gremlins, but we don't get any of that. Because it's like you said, John, it's a bit type story. And but when we were again in that third act or whatever, and it was just all those bits of just the gremlins and that music playing over and over, the la 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 la, and it's just
you're going to besmirch the great Jerry Goldsmith.
It's
really?
it's a great theme, but it was a lot of the same theme. And I started to just kind of tune out of like, and I looked at the running time, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like a little over half. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'll finish the rest of this tomorrow, because I don't have to get it done until Monday. And I was fine, because I'm like, I don't feel like, oh, the ending, I just can't wait for it to get here. And the resolution, like, I mean, obviously it's going to have some sort of resolution, but at that point I was just kind of just bored. But again, I think, like you said, John, it is a thing that kind of probably goes in and out of style. As all humor, it also attends to what we find funny. And for some people, it tickles the funny bone, and we're like, oh, I got to get those $200 million up, those numbers up. So I'm going to go see Gremlins 3 times in theaters and bring all my friends in June of '84. And that's fine. And obviously a lot of people did that.
This isn't the Marvel movie era where people are cheering on for box office necessarily.
True.
But,
that's except for that part.
Yeah. But I mean, one of the questions that I'm surprised that neither one of you has brought up, which, is something that really stuck with me this time, because we have talked about the rules with the gremlins, is you can't get them wet or they, reproduce. Are gremlins warm-blooded? Because if so, snow melts when you're on it, right? Especially body heat. So since snow is simply solid water, shouldn't Stripe jump out of the window, land in the snow, and then maybe get a couple of paces, and then all of a sudden he's paralyzed by permanent state of, reproduction?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Tristan, Darren?
Well, yeah, I definitely thought about that. Like, I was just like, oh, damn, it's snowing. Like that hits some fur, and it's gonna melt, or it's eventually gonna melt, and then they're just gonna be like popping off like crazy.
And I was kind of surprised. I always assumed the rule was that the Mogwai were the only ones that if you got them wet and they reproduced. I felt like that was the only way that the population could not exponentially explode. Meaning, if you have one Mogwai and he gets wet, turns into 6 Mogwai. Now, if any of those eat, they turn into gremlins. But you have to keep at least one Mogwai, because I would have done it where gremlins cannot reproduce from being wet. Gremlins are the end stage. So meaning only if a Mogwai gets wet do they reproduce. That's how I would have done. I wish that they had that kind of distinction, because otherwise you're like, this is a plague.
I was going to say, like, this is an ending event.
Yeah.
This is like that's the thing, is that like this happened in one town at one time. And you're like, no, if this truly existed, this would be the end times.
I mean, granted, the sunlight thing would have cut their numbers back a lot when the day eventually hit, but that there would always be one that got away, that would find a lake, and then you're just doomed. So I would have put that constraint on it, where Mogwai are the only ones that would reproduce.
Here, what I was thinking the entire time when Gizmo was in his backpack and they saw all those gremlins go crazy, destroy things, start fires, literally kill people. I was like, why aren't they shooting Gizmo in the face? That's the first thing. That's the first thing I would have done. I was like, oh my God, this is what happens just from having you. I would have choked him out. I would have just been like,
Wait, so you're gonna punish gentle, sweet, kind Gizmo.
That's the hubris of the Mogwai, that you if you let your guard down, you're gonna get gremlins.
That's the thing. It's like, it's
let
not
your
worth
guard
it.
Down. He was given clear instructions about what not to do.
No, his cuteness is too risky.
I was gonna say the instructions are not enough.
This could have ended humanity easily if this existed.
Mogwai needs to live in the desert where there is no water around or something.
And sunlight is harsh.
Yeah.
It's interesting because this really took a turn, because like, I'm not going to kill Gizmo because Stripe's an a-hole. Like, Stripe's an a-hole. I'll deal with Stripe, but
then the apocalypse is on your head, John.
Oh, sure it is. Yeah, absolutely.
You're totally the guy who would hide if he got bit in the zombie apocalypse. That's totally how you're talking right now.
Yes. Also, in your garage, that's where I'd hide. So you can count on that one.
Speaking of which, the cops just watched a guy die. They watched him die, and they didn't even get out of their car.
I'll also point out that the cops were stunned and drunk. So, that sort of thing. So this is the difficult part, is like applying that real world logic sometimes in a situation like this is a little much. This movie is basically a cartoon, and it's a very dark cartoon, and it's a very grim cartoon, but it's a cartoon, just with like, if this were done today, all the gremlins are CG and stuff like that, everybody would say, "Oh, it's a cartoon," and that's basically what this is. It's a puppet show, it's a cartoon, and everything like that. And just so you know, that there in the novelization, which I don't know if it's still in print or not, that the origin for Mogwai and Gremlins is in it. And the Mogwai were created as gentle creatures on an alien world, but their physiology was unstable. And the end, and I'm lifting directly from the Book of Knowledge here. The end result was only 1 in 10,000 Mogwai would retain their sweet, loving demeanor. The rest would change into creatures the novel referred to as mischievous. The minority Mogwai, 1 in 10,000, are immortal by human standards, though Gizmo explains to Stripe if he were to undergo the transformation himself, he would become like the others, quote, short-lived and violent. This origin is only in the novel, but it's referred to in the novelization of Gremlins 2. But it never appears on screen in either case.
That's interesting, and that also makes me think of something else that I thought was so weird. Was no one questions where these animals come from. No one questions what they are, how they got there.
This feels like the town that's like, you know what? We're just not going to talk about that Christmas, like ever. Like, we're just going to pretend it never happened.
No, that's not even what I'm talking about. Like, when the dad brings Gizmo home, the son's not going, what on earth is that? Is that some sort of deformed cat? Is it, like, what is it? Like, what is it? And like, everybody's just like, oh, where'd you get it, Dad? This is interesting. It's like, no one said like, oh, is this an undiscovered species
no
from the jungle?
Nobody knows. Back in the 80s, nobody cares. Just
even Feldman's character is just like, oh, can I get one of those? That's interesting. Like, no one is going, what is it? Even the scientist is just really interested in its reproductive properties. Not even like, oh, like no one says, like I said earlier, like, is this a deformed cat? And I couldn't think of it. It was so hard.
but again, being the cartoon, right? Like it's the premise and everything. And, additionally, I mean, if you really want to open that Pandora's box and turn like a real overly serious eye to it, nobody's unsettled by the fact that obviously Gizmo has some rudimentary speech, meaning even having him as a pet raises severe ethical questions because
learns English real quick.
Right. There's some baseline intelligence there that takes it above the realm of my dog that can only manage, dragging her butt on the floor and freaking out when I don't feed her on time. So it's like, those sorts of things. And that's the thing, right? Is I can't help but wonder if the window for Gremlins for now in general is closed, and it might open again in the future, just when tastes are different and people don't turn quite, like it's hard for me to say it without sounding like I'm, being a jerk face about it, but like, tastes come and go. And I think Gremlins is one of those ones where it'll fall out of favor for a little bit and it'll probably come back into favor at some other point and be, I mean, everybody can agree on Gremlins 2, but I guess not everybody can agree on the first Gremlins.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get lots of like Child's Play vibes, things like that. Like it's definitely that era of horror in the 80s. But again, like Child's Play had a plot, had, rules and stakes, and you knew kind of what the stakes were. Like there aren't really any stakes except for maybe you die by the Gremlins. I don't know. It's needed one more pass on the good old writing polish.
Well, the script was developed. It went through several drafts. This is the one they were happy with. This is the one that they filmed. So Darren, where are you going to land on the immutable, permanent 5-star scale that we will never, ever manage to escape? That will always be the only way we ever rate films from this point forward. Where do you stand on the 5-star scale?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2, mostly for the animatronic and puppetry work, which I think are stellar, and but at least just that for kind of the. I mean, like you said, I turned it off 3/4 of the way through, just like I'll get around. I could read. I just read what happens. Like something happens at the end. It ends in some way, but it's. Yeah, like I said, I've seen Gremlins before, but Gremlins was never like, oh, I really want to watch that again, even before this weekend. But I think the star is definitely the puppetry work, which I think excels in this. So
Fair
I give
enough.
it a 2 out of 5.
And Tristan, now is your opportunity to share with everybody how much you hate Gremlins by Joe Dante.
Well, actually, that's the thing. Is like I don't hate it. There's a lot of things that just don't make sense to me that I just feel like are bad decisions. And I wanted to give it a 2, like Darren, but 2 on my scale is bad. 2.5 is mediocre, and so I'm going to give it a 2.5 because of the puppetry. So I'm a little bit more generous than Darren, but he also doesn't use half stars. So I'm saying 2.5, but I want to give it a 2. I'm going to give it a 2. It's a 2 for all the reasons that I said. And also, we're going to find out how modern audiences will react to Gremlins, because in December of 2023, we're going to get Gremlins 3.
Yeah, they've been threatening that one for a long time.
I doubt that's actually going to happen. I don't know.
You know what? I believe it could entirely happen simply because they finally... I mean, the nostalgia wave is there still.
That's true.
And they're still mining Ghostbusters, and they're still mining Indiana Jones, and there's like everybody wants to turn the IP around.
It's going to be like summer of '84 all over again. You're going to have Gremlins and Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones.
It's not like Warner Brothers has their S together for their superhero movies, so Gremlins 3 is what we're going to get. So, and with all of that said, my own rating, because I know I can't escape from this, and I will wear your scorn like a badge of honor. 4 stars for Gremlins because it is
coming.
It's zany. It is funny. It's dark. It appeals to my sense of humor. I think that the gags are funny. I love the fact that their name all comes from the guy that they regard as the crazy town drunk who's, the World War II vet who's the drunk driver and, grumpy old man who hates foreign competition in the U.S. market and stuff like that.
Oh gosh, that's that part.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like
that's why we put him in a sanctuary district. Okay, that's why.
But the thing is, that's the guy, who he's the blue collar worker and is just the guy that, the old war vet who's just sad, and it's like that's dark in and of itself, but at the same time, they find a little bit of comedy here and there and they bring it forward. And I think it's successful. I think it has enough plot to put it together. And I think that the gags, the Police Squad style gags, are funny. Like, I love the time machine gag. I think that's terrific. I love the fact that they give him the whole reason he's out and about is because he's basically a traveling salesman, which is something that is kind of lost nowadays. And so it's a glimpse to something that used to exist. And so, 4 stars. So, although I won't be watching it with my youngest child anytime soon.
So you're saying if you take my rating and add it to Tristan's rating,
you get the correct one. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm also saying that I want everybody to strap in because if you thought Gremlins was a joyride, wait until you climb on board a starship with the Explorers, the next film in the Joe Dante filmography of the 1980s, here on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.